Wow, it is December, y'all. Can you believe that? I can't either. I'm like, December of 2020? No, it's 2021. So that means that we've officially really moved into this holiday season. It's upon us, and I have to catch my breath. And that also means that we're in the midst of a holiday season where there are traditional religious celebrations taking place. We've got Hanukkah, right, Bodhi Day. We have the winter solstice on the 21st, and we have Christmas, and we have Kwanzaa. So December and a little before it is really a special time. And all of these traditions, and we're going to talk about this every Sunday of this particular month, every tradition springs from a deeply human desire to connect. Do you have a desire to connect? Yeah, connect with life itself, connect with human beings and humanity, connect with nature, whatever it is. We have this deep desire to connect. We also like to mark the passing of time. We do with rituals and traditions like this Christmas. We mark this Christmas, right? Not next or last, but this or whatever. And we like to celebrate this thing called life spirit in as many ways as we can. Yes? You think that's pretty true? Yeah, I do too. And so there's this yearning, there's this deep yearning to experience this mystery of life, the mysticism of life, and this allness of life, and each and every one of our hearts and our bodies, our minds, and our soul. So many of our religions, spiritual, and cultural traditions revolve around this unerring intuition to connect and be with these deep truths of life. And so that's what we're going to talk about this month, these deep truths of life. And so this month, I still have to catch my breath. I'm working on it. We're focusing less on the separate rituals. Sometimes we do that, and their cultural and religious significance. We're not really doing that much this year. Rather, this year we're seeking out to inherit these spiritual truths that are shared and reinforced in this magnificent diversity of religions and traditions that have taken place for thousands of years. So each week we're focusing on something. I bet you could almost guess what we're focusing on this week to launch this. So this week we are focusing on make a joyful noise. So we're focusing on joy this week. Are y'all into joy? Yeah. Make a joyful noise. We just did this together, collectively, no matter where we were, at home or here, and joy to the fishes and the deep blue sea. And so life becomes this one incredible song. This life is singing a song at all times, everywhere present. And when we realize that spirit life itself is actually for us, and it's not against us, then when we know this and when we believe it, and then we move in our lives through that belief of knowing that life is for us, then we cease merely to exist in our life, and we move into this place where we get to sing our song, and we get to sing it joyfully and make that joyful noise. So just as one of our traditional holiday songs, just as heaven and nature sing, this life is always singing its song. And it's about this glory of this song, and it manifests as creation, and the body of spirit moves everywhere. And it's singing. Think of it, it's singing its song. And so if you check out our Dr. Peter puts out a study guide each month. It's on our website. You'll see our monthly theme. We have study groups going on. If you'd like to be in a study group, you can reach out to Reverend Patty, whether you're online or local. And we do a guide every month. She does. I don't do anything. She gets all credit. And she writes this study guide, and she leads the month with this quote by Sri Aurobindo, and it says, "Creation is for the delight of the divine." I love that. Think of that. Like all of this, everything in this entire cosmos, in this entire universe, It's for the delight of the divine. I mean, if there's this only one thing happening in this great power, and if you're it, right, which you are, but on a macro level, got to choose and be causal and create, wouldn't you want something that just delights you? Everything about it, like delighting you. So I love this quote. And so joy is this first gift that we're going to explore in this holiday season, because joy is the gift of the season. I'm settling down. I still have it in my heart and all that joy. And I love the aliveness that's in me right now. Ernest Holmes tells us that the warmth and color respond to their own. So it's responding to itself, and it takes no recognition of its opposites. So it doesn't even recognize the opposites of this warmth and color. And so if we were to know this spirit, this God, this universal presence as joy, then we must become more joyful. So as we know that this life itself is joy expressed, for all of this is for the sake of its own joy, then we must become more joyful. So sometimes there's a little bit of confusion that maybe happiness and joy are the same. Joy and happiness is the same. And it's actually not. They're very different. Happiness is the response to outer things going on. It's an inquiring things, or outer things happen, and there's this happiness, and it feels good, and it's a great feeling. And what happens with these outer things? They pass. They come and they go, don't they? The outer thing is here, and now it's not here. It's the newness of acquiring something, and then what happens when, say, a car is now a year or two old? Do we that happiness stay the same? If not, go love your car on your way home today, right? But it's these outer things. So happiness comes and goes, wherever, on the other hand, there's joy. And joy is a way in which we walk around in the world. Like creation moves, right? It's how we walk around in the world. And it's not an outer thing. So how can we be that joy as spirit and life itself as much and as frequent and as often and as constant and consistent as possible? How do we do this? How do we make a joyful noise? Well, I've got a few ways and suggestions. The first one is, in this moment, in this season of this person's life, is the greatest gift I could have ever received. We can receive joy from a child. Anyone that's been around a child, whoop, whoop, we got a couple in the sanctuary. Not just the adult child, but there was. I saw Kingsley and Ryan. And so a child. And so the children, as they are moving in their life and their awe of their life, they just emit joy. Yes? Really, we all did this, y'all. And so this is my granddaughter, Aria Faye Wise. She's almost 20 months old. And I just have to say, I promise you this, I would not be going through this pandemic in the way that I am if Aria wasn't in my life. At all the times that I need a lift up, I make sure I'm around her. I'm not going to tell the parents they think we're doing it for her, but there are times where I need this most in my life. And I can't help but be joyful when I'm around her. Every single moment that I am. So I wanted to bring y'all a gift, okay? Especially if you don't follow me on social media, meaning primarily Facebook. And I want to give you a gift. Are you ready? It's really short, so don't miss it. And I mean that. So don't miss this gift. Here we go. Ryan's going to do something here. How does a wolf go? Ow!
Ow!
How does a wolf go? Ow!
Ow!
That's how a wolf goes. That's right, Arya. Ow! How does a wolf go? Ow! Come on, one more time. She might can hear us in the nursery. Come on, how does a wolf go? Ow! Oh, that feels so good. Let's just do it once more. How does a wolf go? Ow! Yeah. Man, that feel inside, right? And it's not just here. It's not contained. I felt it. I felt it from you guys online. I mean, it just ripples out, doesn't it? It's just like so good. So a child, when we're reminded of joy, we're reminded of joy through the child's innocence and wonder. And again, we are still all that. We are all that children, that child. Yeah, so we can do this through our children, our own children. We can do this through our grandchildren. We can do this through our friends' children. Do you know that when I was much younger and I really wanted children of my own in my life and I didn't have them yet, and actually I didn't ever have them, but when I was around my friends that were having children, I became the babysitter for free. I did, because I got to be with their children, and I got to have that joy, and I could connect with them and make that connection. And so that was that was such a joyful time in my life in that my then spiritual community a couple of decades ago. And it just meant, so they don't have to be our own children, our own grandchildren. They could be our friends' kids. Maybe, you want to volunteer in Joy Village and help out with some of our kids and be around them. There's just all kinds of ways in which we can do that. And how else can we access joy? Well, we access joy through connection with others. We are meant to be in clumps, right? We're herd, quote, animals, yes? And so through connection with others, we access this joy that is within it. And we find it most of the time with families and really close friends and connection around people. And so this holiday season is a very key time when we use the holiday seasons and our traditions to actually connect with our family and our friends. You notice sort of you up your game at this time of the year, and maybe you see more people and you go to parties and all that. So it's time in which we can connect with others and set aside things. Especially those things called devices. Just set them aside. I'm going to invite everyone as a spiritual practice throughout this holiday season, when you're with your family and your friends, make a bowl and put the device in the bowl, unless you need it on in case of emergency or something, but just put it in the bowl and connect with family and friends, okay? So we can find joy through connecting. The other way that we can find joy and actually just open the door, it's like this huge doorway, is through gratitude and using a gratitude practice. And we talked about this a lot last month, but it's still so prevalent to right now. Every day of our life, when I don't actually feel so joy-filled, I start thinking, well, what am I grateful for? And I start listing them. And I've mentioned this before, but it's always worth the repeat. If you really want to go for it, we teach this in our foundations class, do a 7-minute gratitude dump. What are you grateful for 7 minutes? And tell someone. Call them on the phone, whatever. And if you think that's long, you might be surprised. And if you don't have 7 minutes, take 4, It's okay. Take 2. Tell someone what you're grateful for. You will feel what you felt howling or kazooing. That joy. It's a great doorway. And the other key way in which to ignite this joy is to be in the present moment. Okay, come right here, right now with me. Not what's going to happen after you leave, or all the shopping you're going to do after this is over, whatever, because we have stuff going on where you can shop. And so just be right here as fully present as you possibly can. That's really the tremendous gift that Aria has brought into my life. I don't think I did it for a couple of years when I was around the little one every day of my life, but I haven't really learned how to be fully present until I was around Aria. Because when they're really, really little, you have to be, right? Like tend all the time, right? And then they get a little bigger and it's like, well, now she's mobile. I still have to be fully present. And now, even though she knows things a little bit more, what to do, what not to do, I want to be fully present because of the gifts I know I'm going to receive. I'm going to be filled up as joy. So I do the same thing when I hold my camera and I'm out in nature. Nothing else is going on when I'm looking through that viewfinder. It is the greatest spiritual practice I have when I'm out by myself, typically. And that's why I keep wanting it in my hand, because that's my meditation time. You know, that's my prayerful time. All of this, because I'm being fully present there, and then I don't miss the moments when I'm fully present here and making connection. So we can be fully present during our decorating. We can be fully present during our meals. We can be fully present during our parties. We can be fully present and receive that gift of being in this now present moment. Now, sometimes, I don't know about y'all, but sometimes I've got to be coaxed into joy. Do you feel like sometimes it would be helpful if you could be coaxed into joy? Like, I don't want to be joyful today. I mean, there are days like, no. You can be coaxed. And I think we do that when on these holiday traditions, you know, birthdays, religious traditions, things like that. Usually what happens, especially now we all have a cell phone in our hand, we're taking lots of photos and videos, yes? I have so many photos and videos. So every year, like baby's first Christmas or whatever it is, right? Every year, birthday. And we get to chronologize our lives through these pictures, and then we get to go back and see them and see and have that moment of that joy of this is sort of how my life is, you know, it got better and better. And let me just tell you, for all the young people, and I know we all consider ourselves young, so I'm going to say that, but for the lower digit decade people, I just want you to know, and everyone I think will attest to this, every decade gets better. Yes? Yes. Come on, give some claps so they know that. Okay. So some of us have been through more than 2 decades. Or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 7, right? If we're blessed enough. And so every decade. So know that at some point as we keep going through more decades, we're going to have these abilities to look at these traditions and how they've been marked. And it brings so much joy. Okay? So there are times in which there are amazing times and great things going on, but you cannot have joy. There are times when you don't have joy when amazing times are going on. Yes? Anybody attest to that? Yeah. And then there are really challenging times where you actually do have joy. And it seems like that's impossible. So I want to encourage you that even if it's cloudy out, there are times, no matter what the moment in your life looks like, there can be joy. And it's okay. It's not like, why am I feeling so joyful when this is going on? So don't be afraid to be joyful in the midst of any challenges or anything that's letting you get down. And really challenging times, like a loss of a loved one, you can find yourself in great joy. So it's again, it's not really things outside of us, it's what's happening. Let me give you an example. When I was living in Oakland almost 10 years ago now, I had this friend, and he very suddenly, through a traffic accident, lost his wife. And I mean soulmate, partner in life. And as you can imagine, he was devastated. He was in severe grief. And while I was holding him, because I was one of the first person to be around him, when I finally got to him and he was just letting his emotions out, and one would say he was wailing, I was just holding him. And then the next thing I knew, it was like he started laughing, and he was like in so much joy in the next moment, because he was going into gratitude of all the years and all the connections and all the things with his wife. And it actually was this great way shower for me, that I know that in the midst of severe grief, there can be so much joy. I have those moments about the death of my father. There's grief and joy. And it just speaks to what lives inside of us all of the time. So, what can stand in our way of joy? Would y'all like to know what, and so you can recognize when some stuff could get in the way of your joy? Okay, good. I'll continue then. So, the first thing that can get in the way of your joy, you ready? Not that any of us do this, is comparison. Okay, comparison. And we're going to be invited to release comparison, like, oh my gosh, well, if I compare your response to this talk to the response I gave the last time I gave a talk, or what about one of Petra's talks, or something like that, it just absolutely stops or keeps my joy from being around. So let's just release comparison, because it inevitably is going to kill your joy. And just be with this moment and not compare. The second thing that can get in the way, believe it or not, is trying to get things. Trying to get your joy by getting things. Acquiring things. So I'm going to get my joy on by buying this or doing this, or, I got to acquire more friends or whatever it is. So that can stop your joy. Don't go for that. And the biggest thing is living in the past or living in the future. Joy is found right here. And joy is found right here even in the memories of the past, but you bring them into this now moment. So it's not the past, it's not the future and thinking about it like shoulda, coulda, woulda back there, or I'm only thinking about I'll get joy-filled when this happens, right? So that'll stay in the way. And the other thing is I want to invite you is, culturally, we tend to connect with one another over negativity, over things that aren't so positive. And so here's what I want you to do. I want to encourage you and let you know that it's okay to be in your joy all the time. Okay? I want you to know it really is okay to be in your joy all the time. Even if that's 365, every hour, every minute, every second of your day, it's really okay. Because some people are embarrassed to be in their joy when they're around people that aren't in their joy. And what do? Right? That's not helping the other person. When we do this, it's okay to be in our joy a lot. Sometimes other people don't want to hear it. Some people will say, who do you think you are? But the damage will be done inside of you if you're not being authentic in the moment. If you're joy-filled, be joy-filled. I remember there were times in my life, in one relationship, I was with a person that chronically was depressed. Like, really, sort of what of a downer to be around. And I remember that, me, I'm a little enthusiastic, and that, and that joy comes out. And I'd be like coming home from my previous spiritual community, and I'd be like, yes, yes. And I'd come in and I'm like, guess what? And it would be like hitting that wall. And within 4 minutes, I had done this. And like, well, yeah, it was okay. Yeah, it was a good day. Be your authentic self. It's okay to be in your joy. And it's okay to not just trust that other people won't compare themselves to you and how joy-filled you are. Ernest Holmes says this: we cannot experience joy around us until we have created it within us. Kirby, come on up. Band, come back up. Kazoos, come back up. Really, now. I'm throwing a ball and they're all catching it. Come on. We're going to do a reprise because we cannot experience joy around us until we have it within us. So this is important for how I'm going to end us and send us. End us on us way. We want to get it within us right now again. Let's do it.
Maybe one verse, two choruses. Go for it.
All right, we'll start at the top. 1, 2, 3. Jeremiah was a bullfrog, was a good friend of mine. Never understood a single thing he said, but I helped him drink his wine. And he always had somebody good wine. We're singing joy to the world. All the boys and girls. Joy to the fishes and the deep blue sea. Joy to you and me. Sing it out, we're singing joy to the world. All the boys and girls. Joy to the fishes and the deep blue sea. Joy to you. What do you say one more time round? We're singing joy to the world. All the boys and girls. Joy to the fishes and the deep blue sea. Joy to you and me. To the fishes and the sea. Joy to the fishes and the deep blue sea. Joy to you and me. One more time, y'all sound so sweet. Joy to the fishes and the deep blue sea. And joy to you and me. Sound as a wolf name.
It's all right. It's all right. Because, when we are in this state of joy, when we are joy-filled, it radiates out. You cannot contain this. It's like this is what Sri Aurobindo was talking about. And this joy from the inside just ripples out, and it spreads. And this is the season to make that joyful noise. So keep letting it, just keep letting it well up in you. There are a lot of people this season that need your joy. Let it radiate out. Let it shine. If you don't have joy in your life right now, don't do it alone. Call a lifeline. Call a friend. Come to this community. Be lifted. Be around people that radiate joy. Because, man, you've got more chance of making it through. I've made it through COVID because of the joy in my life. Right? Call a lifeline. Call a friend. Life, Ernest Holmes tells us that life is not just something to be endured. It is to be lived in joy, in a fullness without limit. Let's go get our limitless, joy-filled life. And so it is.